here we are. Just had a real good laugh this morning. Still kind of laughing about it. So what I did, over the past handful of, I don't know, maybe a month or more, I've been placing look into beside... Hold on a minute. My boss is talking to me. Just a second. So anyway, the past... When we're coming across an email, we're like, holy cow, wouldn't mind talking to this person about what they have experienced. So we mark the email as look into to have them on here and maybe possibly have a conversation with me that we could possibly share with all of you, right? Anyway, I made a new email address. Sarah was going to do all this, but she's away right now. So, and I thought, okay, I'll make a new email address so I don't lose any replies. Because all of the hundreds of thousands of people out there, all you sleuths, have found every single email I've ever created on my How to Hunt domain name. And now I've got I get so many, there's tens of thousands of emails. Anyway, I don't need this email cluttered up with, hey, I know you don't want to see videos, but you got to watch this. I have thousands of you got to watch this video emails, thousands of emails of encounters. And I miss so many emails, right? So anyways, I only sent out 8 invites. All right, basically use the same email. And I woke up this morning. I don't know, maybe I got to do something different. I don't know, but this is the best reply yet I've ever had to an email. I got to share it. I had 2 replies, I think, so far. I sent out 8. Maybe it's going to people's spam. Maybe people don't believe it's me, and I'm not going to share what the email is here. This is between me and the people that come on here for reasons I just explained. Now, listen to this. Excuse me. So the title the words I put in the title to, or topic, I'm sorry, whatever that is. The title of the email I sent out: invite to speak with Steve of How to Hunt YouTube. I don't know. What else should I put in there? And here's the reply. So I just said, hi, blank. Hope this quick email finds you happy and doing well. I finally have my little caveman room completed. New streaming platform ready to rip, and I'm inviting you to come and have a conversation with me regarding your life ride knowledge gathering on the topic of our forest people neighbors. If interested, drop a note at any time with an idea of the best time of day, roughly that day might be, of the week, that would work better for you. And all you need is a decent laptop, the webcam, and a built-in mic, or whatever setup you may be using today. I'll then email you with a invoice from the recording platform. What? Uh-oh, there's a typo in it. I'll email you an invoice from the recording platform. Oh, that's supposed to be invite. And we sit side by side and have at it. Time required's up to you. I can take all day easily, so I'd guess about 2 hours anyway. Take it from there. Drop a note any time. Maybe that's what did it. I don't know, but listen to this. This is my first reply. This sounds kind of fishy. Steve Isdall would not put out a message like this. Steve doesn't know me, nor do I know Steve. I'm a fan of his, but honestly, I know this is a scam. F you, whoever sent this, with a couple of angry face emojis. Oh my god, that dropped me in my tracks. I laughed so hard. Holy shit, that was an awesome reply. Yep, that was a good one. Anyways, yes, it was me. So anyway, I don't know, I guess after I'm done here, I'll have to email the people that I emailed and say, sorry, the word invoice in the email was meant to be invite. We'll see if anybody, maybe nobody wants to come on here and talk to me. We'll see. But anyway, that was pretty good. That was awesome. That was awesome, and I replied and I said, hey, just so you know, it is me. And I'm going to read this into this morning's video. That was epic. Now, shit, I never, that's one of my problems. Sarah gave me shit for that before. I never proofread my shit before hitting send. Now, let's get into hearing from the people. Excuse me. Aboriginal request is the title of this email. There's an older one, actually. Hello, Steve. My name's Pete. I'm an Aboriginal person. And you have read 2 emails that I sent in. The last one was the First Nation word. I'd like to discuss a few things with you. I live in the Lower Mainland now. We can do this by email if you like. I prefer a phone conversation. Either way, I'm good. All right, man. I'll mark this as look into, and we'll get that going. There we go. Next. All right, who do we got? We've got thousands of honest people. My encounter, I think, is the title of this email. Hello, I watched your YouTube video and decided to share something that I had witnessed when I was much younger. I lived in a suburb of Akron, Ohio, and was driving a friend home one night after a date with her. This is approximately 11:30 at night. It had to have her home before midnight. Whatever this was ran across the road with only one stride. We only saw from the hip down, and had long stringy hair like small dreadlocks, but it was wavy brown hair. Not short, but at least 4 inches in length. I was going the speed limit, 35 miles per hour. This thing was around 1 car length ahead of my car. My date and I both saw this pair of legs run right in front of my car. I didn't stop or even slow down. I was scared, and I couldn't understand what had just happened. She wanted me to stop and turn around, and I wouldn't. I've thought about this over the years, put it all out of my mind until I saw the YouTube video that you made. I know it wasn't a deer because it was on 2 legs, and the hair was different. The area where I saw this is known as Copley Township. It's known for its swamps. Plenty of good fishing ponds and farmland. I've told a few people about this after it happened, and I was laughed at, so I never told anyone else until now. I can't call this a Bigfoot, but it wasn't anything I've ever seen before or since. The year was 1978, and I was only 16 and a new driver. Thank you. There you go. Hold on a minute. Where was that again? Copley. Copley Township. C-O-P-L-E-Y. How many people are watching from there right now? We're going to find out. They might crack up in somebody's memory or urge to email us. What do we got here? This is recent. Mark this as read. Steve, another follow-up. But a little personal rewind is the title of this email. Greetings, Steve. I hope this email finds you, the wife, family, adventure dog doing well, no more sickness. I shared a bit recently about my nephew and his adventures into the unknown realm, specifically about his encounter with a wolf man. And you shared them to the world. I'm both surprised and grateful at the same time, and honestly did not expect that. The world we live in is a strange place, and it's nice to know some people are still open-minded. Thank you again for that. No problem. Thanks for sending it in. I'll try to keep this short and sweet. One of my first encounters was not with a physical incarnation, but more spiritual. Plenty of stories to share about that, but I'll try to focus on this one. Right after becoming a believer, I found Scripture to be fascinating. One of the first genuine prayers I prayed came from the story of Solomon. I requested from God not to receive riches, but wisdom, knowledge, and discernment. Like a good little boy, I read the Bible every night before bed, but then for some reason, I prayed not to ever see or hear from the wicked spirits. I especially did not want to see them. And boy, was I in for a surprise. Be careful what you wish for. What you wish for? What do you mean? Like a little boy. I prayed not to ever see or hear wicked spirits. And then you said, careful what you wish for. One night, I fell asleep as usual, with the Bible next to me, yada yada. But I woke up, if you could call it that, in a panic. It was more like a state, somewhere in between sleep and reality. Some would call it sleep paralysis, but I had an overwhelming feeling of dread. I could also make out every detail of my room, even in pitch black, and something was sitting on top of me, and I could barely breathe. Some things were whispering next to me. I tried to fight back, but I couldn't move. I attempted to rebuke them, and they fought even harder. I could not see them in a straightforward way, meaning looking right at them, but for some reason, I could make out their shape/size and actions out of the corner of my eyes. The one on top of me was of my first priority, as it was huge and powerful, almost overwhelming. I tried to turn my head to the side in a desperate attempt to breathe, and that's when I saw it. A massive, ape-like creature laying on top of me, holding me down. It wasn't until I tried to look up at it that I saw the little demons next to the bed, almost like imps dancing around a small altar with a burning fire on top of it. They were reciting something that I could not understand, yet somehow knew it was evil. I desperately tried to speak, but I could not, no matter how hard I tried. The more I struggled, the harder this thing on me pressed its forearm into my throat, and something came out of me, like a voice from somewhere else, and it said, "Get out," in an authoritative way. Not from my mouth, but somewhere. It seemed to come from my stomach. These creatures began to panic. The little ones paused momentarily, then started dancing faster. The one on top desperately pushed harder. The voice spoke again, yet again, "Get out," again. These things increased their momentum, trying to finish the ritual, and one last time the voice spoke, "Get out." The sound of this voice is so strong that it echoed off the walls and permeated the room, knocking the creature on top of me off. I then woke up, darting up in the bed and looking around. There was a deep sense of peace that had replaced the previous panic, and they were gone. I eventually laid back down, going back over what had just happened in my mind, and then slowly drifted off to sleep. Being a bit older now and only slightly more mature, I have a bit of a better understanding of what happened. Evil, which lives in darkness, does not want their plans to be exposed. Like cockroaches, when the light is shone upon them, they scatter. Light, in this case, is the truth. And it is the truth which sets us free. No wonder the evil entities which have ruled and reigned for so long cannot stand for their evil deeds to be exposed. They will fight tooth and nail to prevent that exposure. I want to thank you again, Steve, for all that you do. It's rare in this day to find others genuinely interested in this sort of thing, and you have brought about a wonderful community. There are plenty more stories where this came from, if anyone cares to hear them. Though we currently exist in a physical realm, we coexist with a spiritual realm, one which often seems to be beyond our comprehension. One side tries to hide that knowledge from us while simultaneously controlling us. The other side tries to genuinely guide us and help us understand while allowing us free will. We are indeed created in the image of God, unique and individual, and have a common enemy who despises us for that. Never allow yourself to be controlled. May God bless you and your family and protect you as you continue down the path of no return. That sounds like a bit of a shit-eating, terrifying night to me. But a lot of people email in with stuff going on in their homes, which is really, really terrifying. Oops, I gotta mark that as red. Sorry. Where am I? Man. All right, here we go. What's this about? This is new. Fairly recent, I believe. Excuse me, Steve. Oh, it's titled, "The Tape is in an Attic in West Virginia." Where's this shadow coming from here? Just trying to get this place all perfected here. Where's that shadow? It's coming from the microphone. Oh, look at that. There we go. See, one day I'll become a professional studio setter-upper. Steve, I've been a subscriber for years now. I love the channel, the subject, the content, and I've started this email no shit at least 20 times, and I couldn't send it. That's actually quite common. I have a feeling the parties that I was with that day may be subscribers or watch themselves, but it's time. I'll call my buddy Ed and his stepdad Fred. And what I'm about to tell you is backed up on tape. Let's get started. This may be long, and I'm sorry about that, but I need to tell this before I can't. Let's get the backstory going. I'm 43 now, born and raised in West Virginia in a little town called Colliers. I lived in a trailer park, and like every day, we were outside, and a kid came flying down the dirt road on a mini motorcycle. Found out he was the new kid on the block, and we quickly became friends. Him and his mom moved in 3 trailers down with a guy we knew, Fred. He worked for the city, mowing the grass and cutting trees near the power lines. And about 4 years later, we were 16 and 17, me being the older one, and once my buddy got settled in, we became good friends. He started asking Fred if I could go and work with them cutting grass. And for a long time, he'd say no. And then one time they got back around 8 p.m. and my buddy was not himself. He was white as a sheet and he went to bed. I thought he was sick. He never talked about it, and I never asked. It took a long time before he asked if I could go with them again, though. Years, in fact. Then one time Fred got an area to trim up on a hill by the big power lines, very secluded. Ed asked Fred if I could go, and finally he said yes, but he can't pay, which is why I thought he didn't want me to go, or so I thought. So I go a few times because it takes a few days to finish an area, and I think around trip 4, I asked what's in the bag in the back of the trunk for? What's in it? It's always in the back, but we never use it. And that question made Ed and Fred look at one another. Finally, Fred said, "Nothing we'll use again, it's trash." So I left it alone. The next couple of days went smoothly on the hill, but Fred would always go missing. I thought it was him letting us do all the hard work while he was tossing back a few or eating, because he'd always take the bag of trash with him. He always seemed to return disappointed, though, not saying much, with a sad feeling. That's what I gathered anyway. And one day, Ed and I finished lunch, and Ed took off, and I threw a banana peel in the back of the truck, and this was my shot to find out what's in the damn bag. Upon opening it up, I found a camcorder and 2 little Bigfoot statues about 3 inches tall, very detailed, made of wood, that I know Ed's mom carved because that's what she did. She sold wood carvings at Rogers, Ohio flea market. I also found burn cream, healing cream like Neosporin, a Zippo lighter, a bell, soap, string, and that's it. I can't remember, but those things for sure I do remember. I can tell this stuff was in the bag a while because the Zippo was rusted but worked, and everything else was dirty and old looking. I didn't say anything to Ed or Fred about the bag, but it started to get dark, excuse me, and we had another half a day's work left, so we took off. Excuse me. Fred asked me if I was going to finish up with them tomorrow, and I said I would. And little did I know the following day would be a blessing and a curse. A day that had me more terrified than most can imagine, followed by many other emotions. And to be honest, Steve, I've never gotten this far with this email, and every second I want to delete it and forget about it because I'm about to break a pact that Fred, Ed, and I made those many years ago, but I feel I have to. It was a Wednesday morning when we pulled up to the gate that led us up a pretty steep clearing of the woods. You know those clearings that have electrical wiring running down the hill from the big electric towers, I call them? We had to walk up about 200 yards to the first tower. The clearing was miles long. We just needed to weed eat the concrete tower bases, 3 to be exact. I took the top tower, and Ed and Fred did the other 2, and I'd say about 60 yards separated my tower from the middle one. Anyway, I get to my tower, and before I turn on the weed eater, I hear a bell jingling. I look around for someone I thought for sure I'd seen in a hard hat, but nothing. Then I heard it again, but with what sounded like the woods coming apart. I found the direction of the commotion, and slowly walking into the clearing was what I thought was a bear at first, then quickly realized it wasn't. Excuse me. I'm behind a massive square concrete structure, and when I step out from it, no bullshit. When I step out from it, no bullshit, about 20 yards from it, it stopped in its tracks. A Bigfoot, a male, standing every bit of 9 feet tall, jet black. Not trying to be funny, but had a Coke can-sized genital. My breath leaves my body, and it slowly returns to the woods. And as I start running down the hill towards Ed and Fred, Ed sees me fall, which I found out later I cracked my collarbone doing so. I run to him screaming, "Run to your dad!" I pass him, and we get to Fred. Tripping balls don't describe how I was reacting, but I told Fred what I seen and heard. And we all run to the truck, and as this story should end here, it doesn't. Fred tells Ed and I to stay here and don't move, and he grabs the bag. Put the recorder back in the bed of the truck, gets the bell out, and runs up toward where I seen him with the bag. I realize Ed looks the way he did when he came home that day, white as a sheet. Before he leaves me, he tells me to stay put. I'm going to get my dad. At this time, I hear nothing for 5 minutes, and then I grab the recorder and I go back up. I was terrified. But some things started clicking in my head. The statues of the Bigfoot, the bells. I'm going back up with the recorder. I get to where I can hear Fred and a bell. I get behind the tower and slowly make myself visible with the camera. This time, it was a male and female standing right on the woods line, and Fred and Ed are digging in the bag. The female spots me and steps back out of sight. Then the massive male made this grunt. This sounded like a pissed-off lion and a bull mixed. He took one step back, and that's when I fell to my knees. He was making it clear that I was a threat, and Fred and Ed started asking me to leave. Once I got the nerves, I started telling them that I was not going to hurt you. What? Once I got the nerve, I started telling them I was not going to hurt you. I started crying, and I walked up. I was emotional for some reason. Fred and Ed started showing them what they had in the bag and telling them I was no threat, and it calmed them down. They started making way back to us. I turned the camera on, sat on the ground, and watched Fred give them stuff he had, and eventually they looked at it. I was the focus for them for a minute or two. The male kept looking at me with his massive brown eyes. I couldn't put it together how I felt with this 9-foot-tall beast of a man. Trying to figure out if I was a friend or a foe. So I offered to them my gum with the other stuff. I don't want to say I was accepted yet, but I'll say they wanted to see what Fred had a lot. They ignored me. The male studied the little statues and showed the female. They made these noises that sounded like communication, and I'm telling you that a Bigfoot took a girl once, mated with her, and gave birth to this female. When she tried to use vocals, it sounded like a pissed-off human girl. No words, just noises. Anyway, they wanted nothing to do with anything else. No lighter, no food, no creams. But what I'll never forget is what they gave him back. They had pine cones, a marble, and what looked like animal teeth. I put the camera on my lap, sitting 10 feet away from this intersection. The male's muscles were massive. Skin was dark but tore up. It looked like he'd been through hell. He had a severe infection on his leg, and it looked like a hole, maybe a bullet hole. And this male looked like a man, not an ape. He stuck out his tongue a lot too. It was more square than pointed like ours. His eyebrows and hairline were connected. No cone of a head at all. It looked like our heads, just everything so much bigger. The female had chunks of hair missing from her back. Her back was bloody a bit, and they both stunk something fierce. She had a lot less hair, and she was shy. She sat kneeling, hiding her private parts, and that was very noticeable to me how she did that. She looked like she was in pain. When she stood up, she made noises like her back was hurt, and also when she would stand up, she looked like and had the exact same anatomy a human woman does. She looked like a girl that grew a bunch of hair on her body, but not as much as the male. She was about 6 feet tall. The teeth on them both looked like square pieces of gum. By the end of the interaction, the male was checking out our clothes, and I swear, made a chuckle at the size of our feet, or that we needed shoes. The amount of air they inhale and exhale is insane. Sorry that the descriptions are out of order. I'd remember something and put it in. Anyway, a chopper checking the electric lines ended the interaction. To Fred and Ed, if you're listening, I think about you guys a lot, and this day we shared. I hope if you're still with us, Fred, that you make a copy of the tape and post it. This group alreabout the hundreds of thousands that don't. This group already knows about. This group already knows, but the hundreds of thousands that don't would be interested. The tape would be the end of this debate. I've told no one this encounter, and I've yet to say my name. I'm Thomas. Use it, Steve. I'm not sure what someone can do. I don't have the proof. I tried for a year to get Fred to show the world. They ended up moving. I fell out of contact when I joined the Army. I was a teenager then and wanted this off my chest. We made a pact not to tell anyone to protect the 2 Bigfoot, but it's been years. Oh, and Steve, sometimes you get stories every once in a while about aliens or ghosts or others, and I wanted to ask, are you going to diversify your channel and go everything cryptid one day? Maybe a good way to reach others as well. I know I'd be okay with that. If you have any questions about what I witnessed, ask and I'll send another email of it. If it happened, If you have any questions about what I witnessed, I'll send another email if it happened or I recall. That is quite the frickin' experience, my man. And this is definitely not the first time somebody has expressed that there is either a clear photograph or tape of some of these people in somebody's hands. But it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing how they never come forward. Well, there is a handful of there's no shortage of videos out there today that can be easily proven to not be human. All right, so there you go. There is video footage, whatever you want to call it, video files of these people available today. They're just not what people seem to think they need, whatever that is. But holy shit. Would that be absolutely incredible to see a video of this description, right? To actually see one or more of these people in the same frame as a human being, eye to eye, acknowledging and interacting with each other. That would be absolutely mind-boggling for so many, right? Another thing, too, in this man's description, and other people that we've heard from, people I know, when they've seen these people, a lot of times it's been described as they either looked tired, old and tired, big scars, wounds. A lot of these people have visible, serious scars and injuries on them. I guess if you, I don't know, who knows how to explain that, but I guess if you, like people say, they just went barreling right through that timber like it didn't exist, pushing over trees, that would definitely rip open some flesh, right? Look what happens to us when we go through a thorn bush. But that's a common one. Fred and Ed, do you think they're still out there somewhere? Do you think they're here listening? I mean, I don't think this channel is easy to find myself, because it's never promoted. You know, I think a lot of people out there tell their friends maybe, but I don't even post links to this channel on my social media. I just put hunting and fishing shit on there. Because, I don't know, I'm on the fence. I mean, probably more so because of how many of these people who just want attention And they want those followers. They really need people to watch them. They just want to get the numbers up. And there's me. I don't give a flying shit if you subscribe or not. Right? But I've always been confident that if you know this truth, then you want some answers and you want to learn more, and you're obviously no dummy, it's not going to take you long to come across this channel. Possibly. Right? Do I promote it? Should we promote it intentionally for people specifically like Fred and Ed? I don't know. Maybe. How many more Fred and Eds are out there in the world that possibly have an old VHS tape or something that they managed to get on something caught on video, and they have it, and they're not sharing it with anybody. But if you look at how many different clown shows are going on the internet when it comes to this topic and more, you can't really blame people for not contacting them, right? And then trusting people, right? But one thing I don't understand is why, there's a lot of people who have, I'll use that one man as an example. I'm not picking on anybody, but it's an easy example of the guy who apparently lives in northern British Columbia, north central British Columbia, and has, quote, clear trail cam daylight photographs of 2 of them. He's got it. And I've had other people from southern BC email me the same detail, mentioning to be friends with this man. And all this man has said, well, you got to be careful with that stuff. Whatever makes your brain think that, I don't get it. People are scared by nature anyway, right? Humans are a very insecure herd animal. Man, there's dust in here. A very insecure herd animal. Right? It's frustrating when I hate being scared. I hate people being scared. I hate it. It upsets me. And I want people to not be scared of shit. So you can imagine my frustration when I hear people, well, you got to be careful with these photographs or videotape. Why, what's going to happen? Is your arm going to fall off or something? Are you going to get really sick? Are you going to get arrested? What's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. Let's hope Fred and Ed. Who knows? Maybe the person emailed in, I would imagine it would be too hard to track them down. I would imagine. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe we can revisit this again later. Wouldn't that be something else if Fred and Ed were contacted and decided it was the day and the place to share. Okay, here's another one. Man, it's rain. Can you hear that rain out there? Pissing. Every drop steelhead fishing just goes that much further away. Weird South Carolina woods. The title of this email. Hi, Steve. Yes, you may say my name if you want to. I am a MAGA American, a Christian, and a Trump lover, and I love your channel. I live in a small town 20 minutes south of Charleston, South Carolina, on a 2.29-acre farm. I was born and reared in Charleston, and I have loved horses since I was 4 years old, and I'm now 67. And I have one horse, Caroline, and she's beautiful Arabian mare. See pictures of her. Anyway, I share your love for horses, dogs, and the outdoors. I've ridden horses throughout the woods of South Carolina and Georgia, where my cousins are, all my life. I've never seen a Bigfoot, but I know I've been around strange things in the woods. I have a lifelong friend, Denise, that lives in McClellanville, South Carolina, located a few miles south of Georgetown. I just watched your latest video, and while listening to the story of the couple that heard all the Bigfoot noise going on around them in Georgetown, I remembered an experience that I had while Denise and I were riding a few years ago at her place. We live an hour and a half apart, and when I go to her house, I ride one of her horses. I wish I could bring my horse, but I don't have a trailer. So, we're riding one day about 5 or so years ago. I need to go over the specifics with her. And I'm pretty sure we were on Francis Marion National Forest land. Land is flat in the lower country of South Carolina, and we come upon an opening in the thick woods that led downwards into a cavernous area that was big enough to canter in. The temperature was immediately cold. I hate the heat, and I immediately said, "This feels great. What is this place?" Denise said that she and Holly, her daughter, found this one day while riding, and she wanted me to see it. Steve, it gave both of us the creepiest feeling, almost indiscernible. It was dark, like we were in another world. It reminded me of Jurassic Park. It looked like dinosaurs were living in it. There's nothing like this anywhere that I've ever been in South Carolina or Georgia. We became almost fearful, and believe me, Denise and I aren't afraid of much. It had cypress knees all through it, no bushes or trees, and it was very dark and cold. We felt like we were being watched. It smelled musty. I told her to get us out of here. There were so many cypress knees that we could not go faster than a trot. We could not find a way out. Every time we thought we had an exit, the ground just went straight up and it was impassable. We turn around and go another way and keep hitting dead ends. Denise was leading, and she told me to lead because she said I had the memory and the sense of direction like a bloodhound. And after 55 years of riding together, she knew I could always find the way home. I methodically, by process of elimination, found the way out after about 30 minutes of us almost panicking. After we got back into the warm and regular woods, we both said something like it looked like somewhere that the Sasquatch lived. I think about that place every once in a while, and I'm thinking about riding out there again on horseback to try to find it, to take pictures, or driving and hiking with my husband to try to find it. Just a quick side note, I'm surprised you didn't just let the horses take the lead, because, they walk backwards step for step. I don't know how many times I've done that in the north, and they usually lead you right out of there. Every time, actually. I just wanted to run this by you to add to the weird experiences of maybe not, and sighting, but a feeling of Bigfoot. This is just more info I thought you'd be interested in, and if you want to use it on the air, I don't mind at all. Also, I want to let you know that a lot of us Trump lovers are ecstatic about him winning and the job he's doing. Yes, he's a button pusher, and he's great at getting the liberals to go crazy. We don't want them to understand him and take the red pill. If they start to understand, then the wall won't fall. They have no idea that he's outsmarting them every step of the way. We need Kash Patel approved as soon as possible so he can start the process of arresting and prosecuting some choice buttholes like Obama and... Okay, hold on a minute. Okay, I got you. I got the rest of that email. I kept that between us, all right? Although there is millions of people on the same page, and I appreciate that. Appreciate it. Appreciate it all. Back to your experience. I'm surprised the horses... weren't acting up when you're in that spot. You can't sneak anything by a horse. They are so aware it is ridiculous. Okay, this email even says how long it's going to take to read it. Over half an hour. All right, so we're going to have to save this for tomorrow. That one. Excuse me. What's this one? Adventure dogs outside in their pen, ruling the land. She's so funny. This is titled My Sighting. Hi there, my experience isn't very exciting, but this is it, and it's also one of my earliest memories. My mother, sister, and myself were traveling by car on a long-distance trip. I don't remember if it was Canada or the States. There were thick woods on the side of the highway with a small clearing. A very large, human-like figure covered in hair walked out of this small area and then back into the woods. I only saw it for a few seconds, but that experience has stayed with me my whole life. I'm 59 years old now. I never even told my sister or my mother after I saw it. Thanks for reading this, and I wish you the best in everything you do. Again, it's not a very exciting story, but feel free to share it if you wish. Shared? I may have shared it before. Did I? Who knows? If I did, maybe somebody will email me and tell me that I read it before. Listen to the title of this one. It was crawling faster than I could run. Ooh. Steve. Hey, Steve, in my initial email, I mentioned putting an encounter in the comments. I was listening to someone's story and it made me want to write this. This is my second and last sighting. My first, which I believe was a child black-haired Sasquatch. This story begins with me heading to a buddy's house to get some weed. It was 7 or 8 in the morning. I hopped in my truck and rode over to Poor Valley in southwest Virginia. Knocked on the door, which woke up my buddy we called Fluff. Asked him to hook me up with some of his homegrown. He did, and I got back in the truck and headed out. I rode down to a pullout, which used to be Haggy gas station. I'm now working on getting one rolled up. I got my window rolled down, listening to the creek. In front of me is a house on a hill. And down that hill, 50 to 60 yards, is a pile of firewood. Some of it still full-length limbs and unsplit blocks. I'm looking down literally mid-roll, and I look up, and out of my peripheral, I notice movement. My eyes snapped on it. What I was looking at, I could not believe was actually happening. This Sasquatch was crawling down the hill. It was big and gray. The way it was moving looked unnatural compared to a human crawling. Its arms were moving in a circular motion. Hair was definitely hanging from its arms, swishing around. The legs, like flat to the ground. It was so close to the ground while it was moving. It moved like a spider across the ground. It was gray with darker gray shedding in some areas. It was gray with darker gray shading in some areas. The butt cheeks on it were plump. I don't know why, but I remember noticing its butt. The hair was all short and tight to its body in that area. Its head was fully vertical while its body was horizontal. Ugh. Which was creepy as shit. It was crawling at an angle, facing directly towards me the whole time. I sat still the whole time. I only looked up with my eyes when I say I looked up and saw this. It came down the hill and behind that woodpile. This woodpile was just across the road from me. I was sitting maybe 10 feet from the road in the lot. It peeked out and around the woodpile closest to me. Its head was round, the hair on top sticking up in the center. Brow line was very distinct and flat. Flat lips were almost as wide as its brow. Its nose was flat. It peeked out only for a moment. I dropped my weed in my lap and rolled up the window, started my truck, watching the whole time. Then drove past there. Nothing behind the wood. I slowly drove through there looking up the mountain. I didn't see anything. My best guess is it's under the bridge. I was not getting out to check. That thing was a lot bigger than me, and I'm 6 foot tall, 205 pounds. I know it was headed to the woods behind my truck. The direction it was coming from, if you keep going that way, is nothing but woods and national forest. And behind my truck was a few small mountains and fairly large woods. I felt like it came through their yard because next to their house is literally the creek. So maybe it needed to follow that creek for some reason. All I know is it was headed right at me. Then it saw me in the truck. When it peeked around, looked right at me. Then I didn't see it again. Not sure where it went. But when you see these things, the last thing you think is, I'm getting out of my truck and going after it. I figured I'd share this because it is the sighting where I clearly could see it, and I'll never forget it. There is no way I could outrun that thing crawling. Not that I think it was crawling at me. I was just in its path to wherever it was going, for whatever reason. Have a blessed day, Steve. Much love. Donovan Hayton. Donovan, appreciate that, man. That's a creepy ass frickin' description that more than just you sent in. And they've also, if you ever watch any of those demonic shit-eating horror movies, which I don't like and I don't watch, but as you're growing up, you'll see one or two anyway. I just don't like that shit. I never have, but it'll show, whatever, some kind of demon crawling up the wall or on the ceiling, and the monsters they come up with in movie world, the movement fits that description. Very, very creepy. And that movement has terrified the living shit out of how many people have seen them doing that movement. It's such a bizarre description, especially when you go to picture it and you picture seeing something like that in the woods. It's like, what the hell, right? What the hell? What a to be able to physically pull off that movement though. What a handy skill to have in the woods, right? You imagine being tight to the ground in the woods and being able to rip faster than a running human being easily. Ugh. What's up with that? There you go. That's some creepy ass shit. Appreciate that email, my man. Hope you're alive and well and safe out there. Anyway, I'm gonna get moving. I'm gonna have resend an email to the people I emailed last night and explain to them that the word invoice in their email is supposed to be invite. And who knows what's going to be in my inbox when I crack it open here. That was pretty good. But anyways, I'll get some more emails out. I don't know, maybe I'll send another 10 more invites out tonight. We'll see if anybody wants to come on here and tell us about what they know, what they saw in person, and have a good conversation about it. I think that would be good. So, share my story at howtohunt.com. That's where you get your truth shared word for word, all right? Just get it out. Get it out there. I'll be back tomorrow.